Okay, so now we're going to talk about solving linear equations with both properties together. And we're going to start off with two-step equations. When you have a two-step equation, it means you have two steps to solve it. All right, so this says 7x plus 10 equals 52. Now, the first thing you want to do is always get rid of your whole number first. So if you cover up your variable like we did in the very beginning, I have a plus 10. To get rid of that, I would subtract 10 from both sides. These cancel out. What's 52 minus 10? 42. And now instead of just x coming down, I have 7x. Now I need to divide both sides by 7 because that's what's connected to my x, and this is multiplication. So I divide both sides by 7. These reduce to 1. 1x. What's 42 divided by 7? 6. So let's take a look at another one. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of my plus 6. So I subtract 6 from both sides. These cancel out. Negative 6x equals 54 minus 6. It's 48. Now I divide both sides by negative 6. And x equals, remember dividing, one negative is negative. 48 divided by 6 is 8. So now let's put a little bit more steps in here. 6 minus 3x equals 5x minus 10x plus 12. Now remember, we look at each side first. This side of the equal sign, can I combine a 6 and a 3x? No. This side of the equal sign, can I combine anything over here? I can. I can combine my x's. So I look at this comes down. 6 minus 3x stays the same. I look at my coefficients. What's a 5 and a negative 10? 5 minus 10, negative 5x. Plus 12. And now we move from side to side. Looking at my variables, which one's the smallest? Now a lot of people think the negative 3 is smaller, but it's actually the negative 5. And if you look at it this way, would you want to add 3x to both sides or add 5x to both sides? Now, like I said earlier, there's 4 ways you can solve this. All 4 ways will give you the same answer. This way just helps avoid negatives. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Remember, you always put x's with x's and whole numbers with whole numbers. The 6 comes down. Negative 3 plus 5 is a plus 2x. These cancel out because I'm adding and subtracting. They only become 1 when you divide. 12 left over. Get rid of the 6. Now, this is a positive 6. To get rid of it, you subtract 6. Remember, you do the opposite. So now I have canceled out 2x equals 6. Now I need to divide both sides by 2 because that's what's in front of my variable. Divide both sides by 2. This is where it equals 1. 1x equals 3. Now remember, you can always check your answers by plugging them back in to the problem. Now when we do equations, we have 3 types of ways we can get answers. We have one solution, which is where most of your equations will be. When you have one solution, your answer is x equals 7, x equals 10, so and so. Now, you also have all real numbers. And that's when you have an equation that like ends with 3 equals 3 or x equals x. When both sides are equal to each other, that means no matter what you plug in for x, you will always get the same answer. And then you have one where you have a solution set is this, and this is called undefined. And that's when you have something like 3 equals 10, where it's not a possible answer choice. So 7x minus 5x plus 2 equals 6x plus 2 minus x. So I'm going to combine like terms on each side. 7x minus 5x. 7 minus 5 is 2. Bring down the plus 2. Over here, what's 6x minus x? 5x plus 2. Now I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Going to subtract 2 from both sides. And I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So 0 equals x. Let's try one where your answer is going to be a fraction, so that doesn't freak you out when you do your homework. Negative 2x plus 7 is 5 minus 11x plus 3. Now there's nothing to combine on this side because I have a variable and a whole number. Over here, I need to distribute my negative first. So that's 5 minus 11x minus 3. The negative 2x plus 7 stays. And now I can combine 5 minus 3. So that gives me negative 2x plus 7 is 2 minus 11x. So now I would want to add 11x to both sides because that's my smallest. Negative 2 plus 11, 9x plus 7 equals 2. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. 9x equals negative 5. And then you divide both sides by 9. Now here's the thing. You have to leave your answer in fraction form. You cannot write that on the calculator as negative 5 repeating. Whenever you have a fraction answer, it needs to stay in fraction form. All right, let's try another one. All right, so the first thing I want to do is distribute my negative 4. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 5 is plus 20. Now I need to combine like terms over here. 11x minus 4x is 7x. Now I want to subtract my variable, 7x, from both sides. So this cancels out, so I have 20 equals, this cancels out 4. And this was one of those special times. Can 20 ever equal 4? No. So the solution set is undefined, or the line with the 0 with the line through. All right, let's look at one with a fraction, because I want to make sure you know how to clear fractions. So I have 3/5 x minus 1/10 x equals x minus 13 over 2. So we look at 5, we look at 10, and we look at 2. If I was adding 1/5 plus 1/10 plus 1/2, what would my common denominator be? 10. So you have to have a common denominator, and you multiply everything times that common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this times 10, this times 10, this times 10, and this times 10. So now what's 3 times 10 is 30. 30 divided by 5 is 6x. What's 10 times 1? 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1x. What's 10 times x? 10x. What's 10 times, that's a minus, sorry. What's 10 times 13? 130. 130 divided by 2, 65. So now I combine these two together. What's 6x minus 1x? 5x equals 10x minus 65. Now, to be perfectly honest, this is a situation where it doesn't work to subtract the smallest variable, because I can't subtract 5x from both sides. I have to subtract 10x, and that's because the 5x is already by itself. So I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. 5x minus 10x is 5x equals negative 65. This is negative 5x. I apologize. And then we divide both sides by negative 5. And x equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive. I don't want that to look like an issue. So 65 divided by 5 is 13. Excuse me. All right, we're going to do one more. Fraction and distributive property. Woohoo! Now, when you have distributive properties and fractions, you actually have to do the distributive property first. So I have 1/2 times 3x plus 2 minus 1/5 times x plus 6 equals 5. So I need to distribute my variables first. So 1/2 times 3, you're multiplying this times this number and dividing by this. Since 1 times 3 is 3, 3 divided by 2 won't work, so you leave it as 3 over 2x plus, what's 1 times 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1, that one works, minus, what's 1 times x? So this would be 1/5 x, minus, because this is a negative times a positive, 6 over 5 equals 5. So we look at my denominators. I have a 2, a 5, and a 5. What would my common denominator be? 10. So I'm going to multiply this times 10. You multiply everything times that, not just the fractions. So 3 times 10 is 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15x. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 1 is 10 divided by 5 is 2x. 10 times 6 is 60. 60 divided by 5 is 12. Equals 5 times 10 is 50. So now I'm going to combine like terms. 15 minus 2 is 13x. 10 minus 12 is negative 2 equals 50. Add 2 to both sides. 13x equals 52. And then I divide both sides by 13. 52 divided by 13 is 4. And that's your answer.